Let's do it. Which is your favorite cartoon character? Not comic book character.
Yeah.
Cartoon.
Like Bugs Bunny.
Cartoon. Yes. Cartoon character.
Man, I got to go back for a bit.
Samurai Jack. That's fun. I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying he's a good one.
Yeah.
He'd be a good candidate.
Mm-hmm.
Captain Caveman. Anybody? I'm going old school here.
I remember Captain Caveman.
Favorite cartoon.
Scrappy Doo. Come on. No, I'm just kidding. Everybody hates Scrappy.
I think I'm going to go a little crazy out of the box here. That's not out of the box. It's pretty standard, actually. I'm going to go SpongeBob.
SpongeBob. Yeah.
I really like SpongeBob.
Mine's got to be Perry the Platypus.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Perry.
Doofenshmirtz.
That's
It's a
right.
good one.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
You go ahead.
No, go for it.
Okay. The problem with mine is it is a duo and you have to have them together.
Yeah.
It's Ren and Stimpy.
Oh, yes. So
No,
good.
I refuse. Pick one.
If I had to pick out of the two, which one I liked more? I would go Ren.
Nice.
Yeah.
He fell for it.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
so
so-
good.
Always keep them together.
I'm gonna go old school. I'd say Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
Bugs Bunny is just traditional, good humor. It's amazing to me how much Bugs Bunny just holds up. Old school Bugs Bunny, not like the new Hanna-Barbera, whatever,
Right.
new Warner Brothers, whatever it is. It's not.
I thought
good.
as
But
much
old
as
school Bugs
as much
Bunny.
as I didn't like the new Space Jam movie, I thought the Looney Tunes held up pretty well.
Let's just talk about
They
the
were
fact that
different,
you saw the new Space Jam.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very recently too.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. I mean, the old one, we're kids. It's Michael Jordan.
yeah,
Sure.
I love that.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
got
The
it.
new one's
Hands down.
not great. Although the CGI in the new one was pretty fantastic.
Oh, okay.
It was. As
Okay.
somebody who has to work with that a lot, I'm like blown away at some of the stuff they did.
That's fair.
All right.
I think
All right.
That's all.
We're putting that on a shirt. That's
On that
fair.
note, yeah, we're going to put it on a shirt. Yeah, for real. On that note, welcome to the podcast.
The wind howls and the clouds swirl. For those of us on the coast, every summer, it seems we have to keep an eye on the Gulf. Today, we hunker down and seek shelter as we talk hurricanes.
Fun.
Yeah. Not the basketball team.
No,
No,
no, we talk about the scary thing in the sky.
that's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Earliest memory of a hurricane. What do you got?
They're constant.
They are every summer, every hurricane season.
Dude, earliest memory. I'm trying to think of how far back I can go. I have a favorite memory. It's probably not my earliest, but I do have like the one that stands out to me.
Okay. Yeah.
It was one of the first times I remember evacuating. So it was a big hurricane. And which a lot of people down here don't evacuate for every hurricane because they're just like, you know.
Yeah.
But this one was big enough to where they thought, yeah, you should probably go. So I remember very packed highways. This is before they had that extra hurricane lane and all that.
Yeah.
So it literally just like 2 lanes the whole way.
Contra lane.
So everybody's running out of gas on the highways and stuff like that. My dad got inside information because he works at Dow and he had to stay behind and work to keep turbines running and man those. So he told my mom to leave an entire day earlier than what they recommended.
Ooh.
So we actually had very clear travels. And my mom, a little tidbit about her is she hates driving, especially on highways. My dad's always done the driving. She stays like inside roads around the
Right.
town. So she's really nervous anyway. So she has us kids and we're driving with her and we have no destination. We're just driving. We don't know where we're going. We have no family in the area.
Wow.
They're all out of state.
That's
So
crazy.
we're just driving. And we drive as long as we want to until it gets late. And we're like, hey, where are we? And we'll just grab a hotel. Turns out we're in Lampasas, Texas. That's where we ended up for the night. We stayed at a hotel. And then the next morning, it was Sunday. We were like, hey, let's go to church. Let's find a church in the area. So we kind of looked around, drove around town until we found the first, like this nice little cute Baptist church that looked exactly the way a little in the middle of nowhere church would look. And we go inside and everybody's super welcoming and
Wow.
and everything. It was really great. And they quickly realized we're not from there and didn't know us. So they were like, "Are you evacuees?" And we're like, "Yeah." And so they like got right to it and was like, "Hey, we're going to help you out. You don't need to stay at the hotel. You can stay with us." And they coordinated. And next thing you know, we're going out to this amazing ranch to stay with a family out there who had like extra rooms and all the stuff in their home. And the grandparents and their children lived next to each other on this massive property. And they had horses and goats and cows.
That sounds awesome.
So we stayed there for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
How old were you at this point?
I was probably 12, maybe 13.
Wow.
And we stayed there for 2 weeks because the power was bad. It was out for that long. Trees were down everywhere. It was one of the worst damages we had in the area. So my dad's just like, "Stay there. I'll take care of everything at the house. Y'all stay until it's safe to come back, until there's something to come back to." And so they were awesome people. I fed goats, horses, cows every morning. I woke up and worked the farm with the guy for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
In the afternoon, he taught me how to putt because he was actually a championship golfer.
Wow.
He was 80 years old and he had played golf for 60 years and he was a championship and he still went out and did it every single day. And so he taught me a lot of his tricks with his putter and stuff.
pretty rad.
And I watched Pearl Harbor, the movie, while I was there. That stuck in my brain for some reason.
Wow.
But yeah, that's my earliest memory, and it's actually a good one instead of a bad one.
That's
So,
crazy.
Yeah, that's cool. So their superpower was being a Christian.
Oh,
Yes.
hey,
Sorry,
call
callback
back.
there.
Yeah,
Sorry, call back.
it was. They were really good at it.
That's cool.
Hospitable.
All right. What are we? Oh, earliest memory.
Yeah.
Earliest memory of hurricanes. I'll go in, I think it was 1984, Hurricane Alicia. We were living in Deer Park. It was crazy. I don't remember what, I think it was a category 3, but I can't remember. We stayed in the house and friend of mine actually had a tornado touch down on the other, he lived on next to like a drainage ditch.
Yeah.
And it touched down on the other side and then jumped over his house. And so like the neighbor's house on the other side completely demolished.
Oh, wow.
The house next door completely like, messed up. And but his house was perfectly fine. But yeah, crazy stuff happened. Like we had a cemented in aluminum patio, cover out back. It ripped it out of the ground and peeled it back and was banging against the roof. So yeah,
That's
pretty
crazy.
crazy. Yeah, it was pretty crazy stuff happening during the hurricane. So yeah, that's what I remember. And then of course being without power and then having to use gas to cook, which fortunately we had gas and but yeah,
really lucky.
boiling water, having to boil water for everything.
Right.
It was a scary night. It was a scary night.
I did not grow up where there were hurricanes.
Yeah.
It was mostly tornadoes. So my first like real experience with a hurricane was probably the same storm you were talking about.
I think that was Ike.
Yeah,
I think it was
an
Ike.
Ike. It
I was
like
12 or 13. So.
2005, 6, something like that, like in that range.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Because it was category
really.
5 when it hit and then dropped to a 4 and then quickly started dropping as it moved in.
Yeah, because that year there were like the 2 back-to-back. Like we got a hurricane and there was another one that came through or whatever. Yeah. And I remember that was my first experience of hurricane. And like we had no real tie to keep us here. So we're like, yeah, we'll evacuate.
Yeah.
My wife was working this time. And so she offered to like close up where she was working. So we ended up in that mess.
Yeah.
We had 2 cars. One car did not have air conditioning.
Ooh,
And
brutal.
so yeah, it was a long, I don't know. I think we did something like 21, 22 hours or something, just to make it to like the I-10,
Yeah.
which is, like 2 hours away.
Yep.
The way that we ended up having to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I think we slept at a Buc-ee's, and then went the rest of the way to San Antonio and just spent time with family or whatever.
At that point, when you go through that, you're just like, we're not coming back for a while. We're going to have a vacation to decompress.
Yeah.
Where we were living at the time, like it was near the hospital. So the power was up like right after the storm. So like, there was no reason for us to stay gone. There was power, air conditioning, everything. It was all good. But yeah, we stayed gone for a while just to be out and whatever. We actually parked the car at somebody's house in San Antonio that we knew left the car without air conditioning. And then, took the other car. So That's my earliest. That's my first memory with hurricanes.
Yeah, that's crazy. Same hurricane as me, and the reference to the highway where people sat there and ran out of gas. Jason was that person.
Actually, my mother-in-law was with us, and she'd had a stroke. She didn't move very fast. Not like during that; it was before.
Yeah.
But she loved to smoke, and so she'd be in the car, and she's like, "Hey, I'm just going to step out and have a smoke." We're like, "No,
we could move at any moment."
And then we never moved. She could walk faster than we were driving. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, earliest memory.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember. Like we moved here, man, when I was like 12. And we moved from Arizona. The craziest thing.
Yeah, you definitely
had,
don't have hurricanes.
No, we don't. We had dust storms,
Mm-hmm.
which were crazy during monsoon season. But when you move here and you're watching the news and there's a giant storm slowly headed your way that could, rearrange the face of everything you've ever seen.
Yep.
It's a little unnerving. But I'm trying to remember the earliest memory I have. Like I'm looking at our guide. We're about to walk into craziest hurricane story, which it sounds like.
Yeah, earliest is my current grade.
Yeah. So I think I know there was more before this, but I guess it's like early memory / crazy story. We were at youth camp and down the coast about
Palacios.
Yeah, Palacios. So about an hour away. And hurricane cloud. We're in the middle of youth camp. Had no idea there was a storm in the Gulf. And it's, day one. And then someone says, "So what do you think about this storm?" I was like, "Well, what's storm?" Next thing I know, we're having a meeting and they were like, "So there's a hurricane coming right at us. And you can either take your group home or, there's a church in Katy, Texas, which is up near Houston. It's an old First Baptist church. And basically they're like, we can go move our whole camp there. So you can either go home or you can be with us and go move our whole camp there."
Wow.
So we had a mile-long motorcade, and we went up to old First Baptist Katy, and we literally set up shop in their church.
That's crazy.
The news found out, so they came and did. Several news networks came and interviewed people. Academy found out, was donating like sleeping bags. HEB found out and delivered 2 semi-truck loads of, one of them was the cold storage. It was all the cold food. And then they had a whole nother a semi-load of stuff. And then people just started giving us stuff. So here we have camp, throwdown camp, like the best we possibly can. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But, I took one shower that week.
Wow.
It's youth camp.
Yeah.
He was going to do that no matter what.
Camp. But I slept on the floor. I was exhausted, but it was amazing to watch like the community move like it did. Like and it literally, the hurricane when it hit, it rearranged the campus that we had left. Like just like destroyed so much stuff. Like, there's homes that were wrecked. There was a giant dorm where all the guys were staying. Like that was ripped. The roof was ripped off. Beams were like literally piercing through bunk beds, and it was crazy, the stuff that had happened. But we had been given so much stuff for all of youth camp that we had more than we needed, and so we had a Greyhound style bus, and we packed it full of all of the surplus that we had been given at camp, and drove. A group of us drove it back to Palacios because Red Cross had come and set up at the campus for basically an emergency place for the all of Palacios, and we were able to give like all this water, all this food, all of this stuff, sleeping bags, you name it. It was exhausting and crazy, but it literally was amazing to watch God flex in such a way where you're just like, there's after you looked at what happened that week. During the worship services, the provision from community, how things just all came together. No one could walk away from that situation and go, "There's no God."
Yeah. Was that during Harvey?
No, that was Claudette, 2003.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. It's in those times where like the veil is torn away, where like, cause we all kind of have this veil of, life's pretty good. Like things just work. But when that's kind of torn away, like you actually start to see like how bad things really
could be or can be.
Right.
Yeah. And like how little we really have. And like, how one little instance can change everything. Like you start to quickly realize like, oh, there's got to be more than me because this is.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Man, that's really cool because it's like some of the times when you tell stories about, hurricanes, tornadoes, all the, natural disasters and stuff, there can be a lot of stories where it's negative, but it's cool to hear that we've each had some sort of little positive experience with it.
That's a good point.
Yeah. You find the good in a lot of the situations you're in, even if it's like a, crazy bad situation stuff, you do kind of help each other out and you have camaraderie. That we definitely experienced that multiple times with hurricanes because we evacuated a couple times even after that. We went to Houston. That was a crazy one too because it might have been Harvey, maybe.
No, it wouldn't have been Harvey because Harvey got hit hard. Houston got hit hard with Harvey.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was about to say.
Oh, so you went up there and then like
I think we went to Conroe. So there was one that was projected to hit and then die out by Houston, become more of like a tropical storm. And so we evacuated to go to Houston thinking that was going to be not as bad because we didn't go higher. And we knew somebody in Houston at the time and they lived in a really fancy neighborhood in Conroe, like where like the $14 million houses are and stuff.
Yeah.
And a friend of a friend was like, hey, you can come stay with us. So the craziest part about that was we're staying at this millionaire's house that's insane in this beautiful community. Their backyard is one of the top golf courses in Houston that the PGA Tour plays on.
Wow.
And so we're in this beautiful thing for like a day and a half. And then, what they projected did not happen. And it wrecked everything. Like the golf course did not look like a golf course. Every pine tree in that whole area was down. Like it was nuts. And we were in this house, pitch black. And I remember the guy, when you're wealthy, you have some pretty nice things. So he had a ridiculously awesome generator and it powered the whole house.
Wow.
So he turned it on and like, what did a kid do with his time with a generator? Played Halo.
Yeah.
So,
as one should.
Yeah. But that was crazy.
I think that actually leads us to the next thing we kind of want to talk about. I don't know. We all kind of shared our earliest moments, and a lot of them are kind of crazy stories.
Yeah, that was my crazy story.
Unless you have
I've got a crazy. I got a quick crazy story. When Harvey hit, my wife's grandfather and mother lived in Port Aransas, and the eye wall hit as a Category 4 in Port Aransas, and Port Aransas, for those that don't know, is on an island. Mm-hmm. It's a little beach town. Her grandfather lived in a mobile home less than a block from the beach.
Past tense.
And so, that mobile home, oh my gosh. So she's talking to her grandfather, like, via cell phone. And before the towers went down. Yeah. And she's talking to her mother. Her mother lives in a three-story building, 2 blocks from the beach. And so, and it's an old kind of rickety old house. And so we've got a mobile home situation and my wife's just like, I've got to go down there. I'm like, no, you can't go down there. Like, what are you going to do? Yeah. Like they decided to stay. That's not on you. A Category 4 storm's headed your way. Like, what the heck? Like, I'm not sure we're going to be okay,
Yeah.
And so she was like, no. And so my wife was still, we'd been married for a while at that point, but she's still like, we had conversations about our faith and stuff. And so she was, of course, very nervous for her mother. And her grandfather, and she's talking to her grandfather, and her grandfather's like, there's a foot of water in my mobile home right now. And we're like, holy cow, and it's like, what do you do? And you're just having these phone conversations. We're helpless. There's nothing we can do. We're not the National Guard. We can't get down there. Nobody can get down there. They've closed down the freeway. They've closed down there's a ship, the ferry. They've closed down the ferry, and then the road it's an island and there's a ferry, and then on the other there's like this long road, and they closed that road too. And so it's like they're
They're stuck.
They have there's no options. So she's like, I gotta get there. I was like, there's nothing you can do. All you can do is trust God. And we just got to pray for him. And so she's like, okay. And then she's talking to her mother. Her mother's like, there's water coming down the walls and the whole house is shaking. And it's like, this is what she's hearing. And the hurricane has not even hit land yet.
Yeah.
And then cell towers go down. Everything goes down. And she's like, I haven't heard from my grandfather. And it's about midnight. Like, we're just like, okay. So we spent the night and the next like several hours just waiting. And like, okay, when are we going to hear something? We're going to hear something. And so it was a time of, for us, it's just like, I just have to trust God. I just have to trust God. And so that's what we did. We were just like, well, we're just going to trust God. And it was amazing. So the next day we hear grandfather's fine. His house floated off of its blocks. Her mom's house, water came down the walls, but it was still standing. There were houses like hers on her street. They were gone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, completely gone. So the fact that she's in her house and it stayed standing was miraculous.
Sure.
The stories of the people in the town, like I don't think there was any deaths. Like, and it was like, what in the world? Like, there was this one couple. I can't remember exactly the story, but it was just another one of those like miraculous moments where if they had stayed where they were, they're like, no, we got to go. And if they stayed where they were, gone.
Yeah.
And everybody would have died. So it's just, it was crazy on being on that end of it and feeling completely helpless and just like, we just have to trust God. And then on the back end, on the other side, everything's fine. I mean, yeah, stuff is damaged, stuff is destroyed, but the people all made it through.
Yeah.
It
on
awesome.
the other end of that, so there was a church, I think it was out of Corpus Christi, that came in for relief or whatever. They started sending mission teams in. And from those mission teams, they actually planted a church.
Wow.
Because like they, rebuilding that whole area as it was hit. And it's still there. Like
that's awesome.
So it was like born out of coming to serve people.
Relief. That's really cool.
Yeah. So
it's wild to be in a position, for those of you who do not live on the coast or haven't experienced hurricanes, there comes a point in time where the Coast Guard and all of the authorities at B basically say, if you have refused to stay, if you have refused to leave, then what we encourage you to do is get a Sharpie and write your social security number on your body somewhere. Because they feel like at some point in time when the storm hits, there's nothing that they can do. And they're not going to put the rest of...
Just recover your body.
Yes. And so when that comes over the news, you're in a spot where you're like what Lee was saying, you feel helpless and you're like, what? And you hope that everybody has done what they can to get out. But it's just crazy to be in that position where everything is, like you said, it's like, it's out of your control. Like, what can you do now?
Yeah.
But wait.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it was pretty awesome. Just seeing God take care of them in the midst of the storm. I mean, that mobile home was gone. And a lot of her stuff, like she went down as soon as she could. She went down there and helped kind of recover some of the stuff. Yeah. Out of the house and helped her mom, do some stuff. But yeah, it was just a crazy situation. And, how small and insignificant we really are in the big scheme of things. Kind of crazy.
Yeah. It makes you think, like, when you're in those situations, you always have like different things you're trying to figure out. Like, how do I stay safe? How do you make sure that I'm prepared, especially those who stay behind.
Right.
So I'm just thinking, like, if you were going to have to be in that situation, you're going to stay behind. Like, what is the one thing you'd want to have in a hurricane with you?
Yeah. Let's take generator off. Cause everybody's like,
everybody wants
a generator. Everybody wants a generator.
Let's take that one off.
Well, and it's interesting you say, what do you need if you stay? And it depends on your motives. Like, there's always, and every time you see that the hurricane is coming,
you're going to loot.
I know, right? That happens.
I'm just thinking about the hurricane parties that happen. There are people that are like, we're going to stay. We're going to throw a party.
Yeah.
I've literally seen Instagram photos of people during a hurricane. Like, you literally see like the trees bending like this, rain coming in, and they're outside in swim trunks in a Solo cup.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what is happening right now?
Why are you doing this?
It's wild people.
YOLO!
Yeah. So I guess red Solo cup, that's the answer.
There you go.
Yes.
Red Solo cup.
Red Solo
That
cup.
wins.
That's what you want to have. No,
Water.
Yeah, I think for me, it's either that or it's going to be like a transistor radio. Information is really helpful.
Yeah, that's true.
In all sorts of things. Like any situation you're in, if you have more information, you're better prepared to survive.
Right.
Now, and you can't really account for where you are environmentally. Like if I was stuck in a mobile home, like the grandfather
down on
was,
the coast,
like,
yeah.
There's nothing you can do to that mobile home that's going to make it any more prepared for that than anything. But you can prepare yourself mentally, informational.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you would have left if you had more information.
Yeah.
But
Probably not.
No,
Probably not.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a bunch of people
old
out there
guy.
that are like, no, it'll be all right. I've made it through.
He is a Marine from Korea.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Well, and there's
he's into
also
the
like,
Korean
I
War.
remember when Katrina was coming this direction,
Katrina.
Hurricane Katrina
Yeah.
came, and that was just, that was,
And it was
Yeah.
forecasted here at first.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
before it went to
and then it
Louisiana.
shifted to Louisiana, and, it wrecked Louisiana, Mississippi, and all of that. Well, what is it? A month later, Rita was coming up.
Yeah.
Rita was
and
the
then
other one.
everybody,
So
their
fast.
brothers like, let's get out of town.
Well, I feel like Katrina was happening, so everybody freaked out. We're like, we got to get out of here. Well, then it didn't come our way. And so when Rita started coming our direction, people were like, I ain't going.
No, there was a lot. So my sister actually came down after Katrina. Rita actually flooded. I mean, the streets were just full. I mean, full of people. I was one of those. Okay, so I was actually working at a radio station doing the weather updates in Corpus Christi at the time. So when Katrina was, forecast, well, it's going to come, it's going to hit here. I was like, no, it's not. And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, National Weather Service. I'm looking at it. I'm just trying, I'm looking at all the projected paths. It's not going to happen. Well, the local media, the local weather guy's lying to you. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah. And so,
his
and then when
not
Rita,
quite as good.
I'm like, National Weather Service, local Doppler radar. I'm just saying, and so like I was, because I'm having to give people information, and that we're, as a radio station, we're having to give people information and say, yes, this is happening and you need to do this.
Yeah.
And so like Rita came along, and when Rita came along, I was like, Mom and Dad, it's not going to hit. And they're like, no, they say it. I was like, so my sister, I'm like, and they were like, well, can you go up to our house and, secure the house and like put some plywood on the windows and get stuff off the floor? And I'm like, it's not going to hit. And they're like, Lee, please. And I was like, well, first of all, I would love to, but I am the designated person for the radio station. So I'm going to be here. I can't go. So my sister has to drive down from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh my gosh.
With her boyfriend at the time.
Yeah.
They came all the way down, did all the stuff, and then on the way back, they got stuck in the lines. And they were just like, they were so hot. They had to turn off the car, and they were just like sweating and just like, ugh. And I think that's kind of, that's kind of their story, and that kind of cemented their relationship, and they ended up getting married, I think.
Oh, well, there
out
you
of
go.
it. So there was some good
It
came
was
out of
meant
it.
to be.
Yeah, there you go.
Disasters make great things happen.
Yeah. But anyway, so that was, Rita was the near miss that everybody was like, oh, and it was like,
Well, it did come through here though, right? Like
It hit Beaumont.
It was like a tropical
yeah,
storm.
Beaumont. Yeah.
Yeah.
It went through.
which one
like
came up through Clute?
Port Arthur? No, I don't know.
Because we evacuated for that. And I don't know that it came up.
There was a
through Clute.
tropical storm that basically came our
And
way
just
and
rushed.
just sat on top of us for a while.
Yeah, because we evacuated. It was the second time we evacuated. I thought it was Rita. And I remember watching on the news, like the newscaster was trying to make it sound like this is a horrible thing that has happened in Clute. And I it's the old Kroger was there,
Yes.
and I remember, and he's talking about how all this stuff is
A disaster,
is like disaster area. And there's like one sign that's knocked over, and like they just keep showing that same sign. And
We're
then,
dealing with the damage.
and then people stayed, and they're like, "Hey, it's not too bad here." Like,
That reminds me of the live broadcast that they had down here.
in the ditch.
It was like it was
and the guy
Surfside.
walks by,
The guy
And a
standing
guy
in the
just
ditch, and the guy
walks
walks
by
in the background,
and he's
yes.
like,
the guy staying in the ditch and acting like the
That
wind
was-
is going.
yeah.
Now I will say,
that was
I think
awesome.
Surfside actually did take a pretty big hit
did.
on that, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
Surfside did, but like Clute, and that's where
Storm
they kept,
surge
like-
right on the coast.
Yeah, that's where everybody was still like doing their shows from.
Yeah.
I was like,
I just remember because we set the family the day, like your situation. It was the day before, and I stayed back to work, and I was watching the news. But at one point in time, that Rita was coming right at us.
Yeah.
and I
Yeah, it
lived
did
at a
have
little
a
bitty,
direct path,
a little bitty home on blocks.
Yep.
And we packed up the van with the kids, and a few valuables, and I'm looking at the rest of my house going, this might be the last time I see this stuff.
Yep.
You know, it's like, how important are things to us, you know, at this point. Yeah. And I remember that morning waking up going, all right, what am I going to do? Am I leaving now? And the storm had turned and was pushing towards Beaumont. Well, there's this line of traffic leaving Houston on I-10 stacked.
Oh, yeah.
And here's this reporter walking up to people. They're like, hey, what do you feel about knowing the storm is coming right at you now?
Yeah.
And they're like, what? This is the first news they've heard of it. They're trying to get away from Houston, get away from the storm,
heading
and it's coming
Louisiana,
right at it.
Driving at it, yeah.
Yeah, and everyone's stuck in traffic that's not moving.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That was a big deal. What was? Oh, our question was like, what were you going to take with you?
Water.
Oh, yeah, water.
Flashlight.
I said transistor
radio. Yeah, I think water. I think that's the big thing. I mean,
well, and I would say not just drinking water. Like there's the other water. You're like, oh, we need to flush the toilet.
Yeah. Fill the bathtub.
Yeah.
Fill the bathtub.
Exactly.
That's what I always do.
There's all those things.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Again, we're coming close to the end of time here. So we'll end with a fun one.
All right.
If describe a hurricane that would have your name.
So if I was a hurricane, what would that hurricane be?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, if I was a hurricane, what would your name be?
Raymond.
Yeah.
So
what would your
if they
hurricane
announce Hurricane Raymond, I think it would have a strong start in the Gulf, but by the time it reached the what is it called? the beaches,
the shoreline. Yeah.
It would turn into a beautiful sunny day.
Just comes running and like, all right, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be a stiff storm.
All right.
Yeah. I'm thinking
be over quick.
Yeah. I'm thinking Storm Jason.
Jason is coming into the.
Wait, where would your storm be?
Yeah.
Where?
Pacific, Atlantic,
Gulf.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good point as well.
He's like curveball, Indian Ocean.
Yeah. It's a typhoon.
Yeah.
No, I'll go Atlantic. I just like colder water.
Yeah.
I don't like water, but I like colder. So cold.
Yes. Yeah.
Be cold and slow moving. Not in a rush to get anywhere. Probably not a lot of rain because I don't like water.
Yeah,
it's just lightning. Just mostly
lightning the whole time.
Just like bleh.
Wind and lightning.
Yeah, that's probably like just slow moving.
A lot of wind.
A lot of wind. Yeah, that's me.
Sitting on top
constantly breaking wind.
Just sitting on top of Virginia.
Yeah. That's just meander along and then I'm done.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Not much to Storm Jason.
Dissipate over Ohio somewhere.
Eric?
Hurricane Eric.
Sounds like a wrestler name.
Hurricane Eric.
Here to mess you up.
Yeah.
I think I probably in the Gulf. It would be just a big disappointment.
Oh wow!
It's just his hurricane's the one that's like spinning, and you see those like tails coming off, and all of a sudden it just dissipates into like multiple hurricanes that get smaller, and then just keep going.
Yeah. No, it just has one trail that looks like a beard.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm thinking if we're talking about your hurricane, it would be like it would have like a lot going on the southern portion, but not a whole lot. The northern quadrants.
The head of the hurricane. I don't know what that's called.
The hurricane.
So this is the longest bald joke.
He wrote the questions this week. I think it was a setup.
Yeah, it was a setup.
It was a setup for that.
You bored, Lee?
Yeah.
You bored?
Yeah.
I think mine, I'd be like a category 5 way out there and all alone. And then like it wrecks like one ship.
Some islands.
Yeah. Like some little non-inhabited island. And then like, that's it. And then it just tapers
Lee's
off.
out there messing up some island pigs.
Yeah. It's like,
it's like just
like, who's that yelling out there?
That
What's going on?
That one ship that, was a tanker that went the wrong way. But that'd be it.
That's it. Okay. Yeah. That's us as a hurricane.
Never in my wildest dreams would I
never
never thought I'd answer that question.
It's
never
like
thought I
the
would be
next
asked
job
that
question.
question.
If you were a hurricane, what would you be?
What kind of hurricane would you be?
Let's just think about that.
Man, I don't think I've ever thought about that question in my life. So, people who have been watching the podcast for a bit, since maybe you've been here since episode 1 and you kind of know us a little bit, Leave in the comments. What do you think we would be? What does our hurricane look like to you?
And I think also now that we're talking about people as hurricanes, I can think of some things.
It's like I know some hurricanes.
Yeah.
I know some hurricanes out there, my friends.
Oh, by the way, we do have somewhere.
Oh no, do you have it on you?
Yeah, we've got
You have? Oh, I don't have mine
there
on
it
me.
is.
We have keychains. So
That is so big.
We will give away 5 of these to people that comment, like, or subscribe, and we'll give away 5 of these this week. So comment, like, subscribe, and
keychains.
We'll pick 5 random people and give them a keychain.
That'd be awesome.
So all 5 of you out there watching.
So
That's
that's
right.
5
You
Much
get
like
one.
these
We're done.
hurricanes,
You
you'll be
get-
blown away.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
make sure you comment. Let us know what is your craziest experience in a hurricane. If you haven't experienced a hurricane, you let us know. Just a storm in general, that'd be cool too. But thanks for hanging out with us and talking hurricanes on the 4 Thought podcast. Peace out.